Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Masterclass implementation. My name is Nicholas. I'm an implementation manager for the DACH region.
I'm Stefano. I am also an implementation manager for international markets.
The clicker?
All right. So today we're going to...
Clicker.
Oh, that's a good thing. Today we're going to talk about the ideal implementation process at SoSafe and share our best practice along the way. So this is our agenda. We're going to talk about the technical aspects, but also the more strategical point of view. We're going to wrap it up with later on with key takeaways, and at the end, just some Q&A if you have any questions. Just a disclaimer before we actually start. We know that we have quite a varied audience today, so some of the things that we're going to talk about today may not apply to everyone the same way. So don't worry, we can always adjust to our customer needs.
So when we talk about the technical part of the implementation, we have three main parts that we cover. First up is the topic of user upload. How do we get user data in our SoSafe Manager platform? Second, the topic of whitelisting. That is to make sure that the simulated phishing emails that we're going to send out actually arrive in your user's inbox. And lastly, if this case, the phishing report button is part of your plan, how to configure it and roll it out to your organization.
Yep. And first thing first, we're going to talk about user upload. So that's the very first thing that we do. Typically, there are two ways that we offer to upload users on the SoSafe Manager. The first one is manual. So you have the option to upload all your users through an Excel file. It's quite an easy and quick setup. You can upload the information that you need directly into the platform and then manage it also directly from there. The downside of it, of course, is that you need to actually update the information to stay on top of it. So it requires some updates from time to time on your end. And to actually remember to do that, we actually suggest that you always set a reminder in your calendar, let's say once a month, once a quarter, or however you think that the updates needs to happen on the SoSafe Manager.
And the second option is through an automatic user provisioning. That means we have the advantage to take the user data directly from a single source of truth and import it into our system. This means we can create user groups, for example, based on your existing security groups or any other attribute, for example, the department. And that saves a lot of time, right? So we need to set it up once, but then it's automatically provisioning in a 40-minute cycle, for example, for Enter ID.
Absolutely. Next up is whitelisting. So for the whitelisting, this is something that that you need to do only after you've done the selection of templates. Why? Because the senders, like each template has their own senders, so you need to whitelist the templates accordingly. This step is crucial because you need to make sure that your employees are going to receive then the emails, the SoSafe, the phishing emails, and also that they are able to click on all the links, and ideally that all the images are loading immediately. Having said that, another disclaimer is that we understand that you may have already some internal security policies in place, especially around the download of images into emails. So of course, we don't want to bypass any of that. So if you feel like this is better to not download the images right away, of course, keep it this way. It only makes it more realistic for your users if all the emails are treated the same way in their inbox. So for the whitelisting as well, what we're going to do is share some detailed step-by-step guide to help you whitelist in the different environments. And once it's done, you will need to perform a test. So from the SoSafe Manager, you have a test button that you can use. Send yourself all the templates that you have selected. Make sure that you receive them, that you can click on all the links, and that everything is as you expected and intended to be.
And in case the phishing report button is part of your package, you can configure and set it up in the SoSafe Manager. For example, you can define a help desk email address where emails automatically get forwarded in case they're not part of the SoSafe phishing simulation. In addition to that, you can also fine-tune the user experience to meet your organization's needs. And the installation itself, so the download of the manifest file, can be done in the SoSafe Manager directly as well. And if you then try to roll it out to your organization, please make sure that you test it with a test group to make sure that all the functions you want and expect are actually there and working. So that was the technical part of the implementation. We gave you an overview of what you need to set up from a technical side. Now we're gonna go into deep dive in the strategic implementation. And here we have three main pillars as well. We're gonna cover the e-learning. That means you need to define, for example, which e-learning modules are going to be part of the training, when to start the training. We're going to cover the topic of phishing simulation. There are different ways on how to set up a phishing simulation. We're going to cover that in a second. And lastly, notifying your stakeholders. So there are different stakeholders that are included in the project, and we're going to show you which stakeholders you should notify in advance and how to do that.
And kicking off with the e-learning aspect, what we're going to do first is align together on the start date, the lessons that needs to be included in the training, and also the time that you want to allow your users to complete all the mandatory modules. Then, once the campaign is launched, everybody receives their invitation email, they can log in, and the first time that they will actually see the platform, they will be prompted to this user survey, which is there to collect basically their work habits, which would then help define a personalized learning path, combined basically with the answers that they are providing and the setup that we have done together previously. This means that, for example, the question that we have on the screen, do you have a work mobile phone? If here they answer no, and together we have decided that all related modules to work mobile phones should be mandatory for all users, then they will still have this module included in their learning path. Also good to know is that although a personalized learning path is created for all the users, they will always have access to the entire library of modules from day one in the e-learning platform. There are more technical things to say about e-learning. We're not going to go to too much depth on the technical aspect today, as we want to keep the focus on the strategic level.
So when we talk about the phishing simulation, there are three main ways to set up a simulation. We have a basic phishing, where we basically roll out a set of templates to your whole organization, making sure that everyone receives all of these templates, and we're therefore creating a baseline. And if you want to have a more targeted approach, we also have our target phishing, where we create a simulation based on user groups. For example, we can send out a different pool of templates to different departments. So we have dedicated template for the IT department, for the finance department, and we really meet the users where they are and adapt to their type of role. And our most advanced option is a behavior-based phishing. Here you can select a set of templates that will be sent over time, and our system will then automatically send them to the users based on their individual learning needs and speed, and also learning level. So our recommendation is to approach the whole topic of phishing simulation like an evolving learning feature that matures over time. What does that mean? For example, you can start with, if you don't have experience with phishing simulation yet, you can start with a basic approach, roll out one simulation to your whole organization to get a baseline and understand how your organization is currently performing. And after that, you can go into more targeted approach and roll out specific templates to specific user groups. And lastly, then with the behavior-based phishing, you can ensure that the users receive actually the training they need based on their individual risk profile.
Yes, that's right. So, of course, for the first simulation, we will assist you with the setup, but you will see that it's quite straightforward. So here we have a little clip of how that works. So first you will select the type of simulation, select the templates you want to include in that simulation. You can always refer to the level of difficulty from easy to hard, and you can also have a preview so you see exactly what your users are going to receive. Then you continue, you define the dates that you want to have for that simulation. By default, it's always for 1 year, but you can always tweak the dates as you need in here. Then you finally select a name for it. And once you're ready, you can review and add your simulation. So it's that simple. The last step is, as I mentioned in the beginning, to review the whitelisting. So you have to do this on your end. Make sure that all the emails are received properly, that you tested it. And once you're done, then you will be able to go back in there, confirm the whitelisting is done, and that's it. As soon as the start date arrives, the campaign will be launched automatically, and people will start receiving phishing emails. So next up is the last but not least of the parts for the strategical implementation. It's notifying your stakeholders. So to guarantee a successful rollout, we highly recommend that you inform all your stakeholders throughout the implementation process. So here you have on the screen what are the main stakeholders and what are the needs and metrics that will help them to measure success. For instance, the C-suite, essentially leadership, they need to understand the high-level benefit. How is this aligning with the business goals? For IT, they will need more detailed information, the specification of the integration with different elements. HR, they will handle the user engagement, so they need to have visibility into the training content and also the user progress. For legal, compliance is going to be the top priority. This group is going to be essential for ensuring that our solution aligns with legal frameworks and the data protection standards.
And lastly, the end user, so your employee, which then actually received the training and also the phishing simulation. Our experience has shown that if you notify them in advance, this might have a slight reduction effect on the click rate in the phishing simulation, but it also has many advantages, right? So if we look at the experience we had with previous customers, you can see that the rollout is a lot smoother if the employees were notified in advance because they know what to expect. They consider the topic of cybersecurity as something useful, and you have a higher engagement, for example, with the training or hopefully not with the phishing emails, but with the overall awareness building process. So that's really, really important to engage with your users and inform them in advance.
Yep. So that was a lot to take in. So we have this final slide to talk about key takeaways. So just to point a few that we mentioned, the 5 key stakeholders and why it's important to keep them informed throughout the process. The whitelisting done and tested to ensure that you have the maximum impact during the phishing simulation.
Then we covered the topic of e-learning and also the different types of phishing simulation. So yeah, that was basically it, a rough overview of the implementation process. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them at us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Niklas and Stefano. This was a very comprehensive view of what you can expect if you have an implementation with us. Now, before we go anywhere else, does anyone have questions for these gentlemen?
Yes.
I have a question over here. The microphone is coming from behind you.
Thank you. Regarding user engagement, what would you recommend to do to strengthen users to engage with the e-learning? If I see that my users don't do the learning, the lessons, yeah.
One of the aspects that we previously mentioned, having the C-suite on board is a big advantage. So if you, for example, send out an information that your CEO already did all the training modules, that is a big advantage, and that can help users to say, okay, if he does it, it might be important, and then you do the training as well.
I see 2 questions over here.
Thank you for the presentation. So, what is the craziest implementation story that you have that may or may have not led up to one of these best practices?
Crazy story about implementation. Are we allowed to talk about this?
First of all, fantastic question.
No, go. Yeah, if you. If you
I think there are many crazy stories about the implementation, mostly about the times. Sometimes it's difficult with time zones. If someone is in a different time zone and you know that they're, for example, in the middle of the night, but they're writing you an email, right? That's a bit strange. What else? Do you have a story?
Yeah, no, I mean, just like for as a reference to whitelisting, like why we insist so heavily on it is that sometimes we have our customers jumping right into a phishing simulation without taking the time, and actually they get back to us just a couple of days later saying, oh my God, like no emails have arrived, they all went to spam, or and in that case, of course, like it's something that can be avoided. So that's why we're very, very every time insisting on this so that it's done ahead of time. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
There was another question right in the back here.
So my question is, when it comes to the reporting of false positives, that's one concern our IT team has. Does the behavior change in your experience from before the phishing simulation and after the phishing simulation? So do users report more false positives when phishing simulations are introduced, or does it not change at all?
So first of all, the big advantage of our phishing report button is that all the emails that are sent with our simulation will be automatically detected by the button. That means this workload is already off the shoulders of your SOC team. Usually the experience is when the button is new, a lot of people even want to try it out and they report a lot of emails, and then over time the volume goes down. So yeah.
So basically just a peak in the beginning should be expected, and then after that should normalize.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No?
No? Okay, then I get to thank both of these gentlemen very much for their time. And
Thank you very much. Thank you, everyone.
Exactly.